The Edmonton Oilers trail 2-0. The Colorado Avalanche trail 2-1. And the Washington Capitals are up 2-0 in their first round series. A whole lot of NHL playoff action to get to on today's edition of Locked On NHL.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Thursday edition of Locked On NHL. I am Nick Zararis. That is Hunter Hodies. We are the hosts of Locked On Oilers and Locked On Penguins, and we want to thank everyone that is making Locked On NHL their first listen of the day. Locked On NHL, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. There's a whole lot to get to today, folks. Hunter and I are going to do our best to be on point as possible. So we have a lot to get to. We're going to start with the games from Wednesday night. We'll hit on the Oilers and Kings, Montreal and Washington, and then Stars Avs. We'll touch base on the series that are taking place tonight and tomorrow. We'll hit on every series to some degree, some a little bit more than others. We do have a couple of quick hits from hosts from games last night that we're going to get to. We're going to start our conversation on today's show with the Oilers and the Kings and what has been an outright domination. And it is surreal to say that a team with two of the five best players in the world is getting destroyed to this degree. But as Eddie Garcia is going to explain in his hit of Locked On Kings, special teams is deciding this series, and the Oilers' penalty kill has been non-existent, and they have yet to score on the power play through two games. And the series has been relatively close at 5-on-5, but when the special teams is this aggressively split against you, there's nothing you can do.
100%. And I apologize for my weird raspy voice. The allergies are really getting, I think, to you, especially me today. But yeah, game one was only close, man, because Connor McDavid went God mode. And I know Stuart Skinner did not play well in that game. He did not play well in game two. I think, Nick, they're probably going to have to make a goalie change in game three just because of the way he's been playing these first two games. But they need more out of their big guns outside of McDavid. I think they need a little bit more out of Leon. I think they need a lot more out of Hyman. Nugent Hopkins, Bouchard, I don't think has been playing well at all in these two games. His defending has especially been piss poor. But the Kings really don't give you anything at 5-on-5. They are so good at shutting things down, especially at home, clogging up the neutral zone. And they have been doing that to a really nice degree in these first two games. And you said about the special teams, the Kings power play has been red hot in these two games, and they are playing a very aggressive penalty kill against McDavid and Leon. The thing is, they haven't been able to get Leon going as much because they are double shifting him basically every time. Like, they've been trying to put him on his own line, Nick, but they're down so early so often that they have to put him with McDavid, and they have to start shortening the bench. And you look at the Oilers' depth, they just don't have the depth this year that they had in, a couple recent years, for example. So when you combine all of those assets, this is the series that you get. And we both picked the Oilers in 7 games, but I wasn't feeling good about it. Like, I picked them just because I felt like Leon and Connor were going to go God mode. And Connor has at least in one game, but so far he's not getting any help, man.
No, and we're going to throw it to Eddie Garcia of Locked On Kings for more.
The LA Kings use home ice and special teams to take a 2-0 series lead. Hey, it's Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. Kings last year against the Edmonton Oilers in a 5-game series had a total of 0 power play goals, while the Oilers had 9. It was a big reason why Edmonton advanced in that series. So far through 2 games, a complete flip of the script. The Kings have 5 power play goals, 3 of them tonight, while the Oilers have 0 to this point. Adrian Kempe was the star in game number 2 for the Kings with a 4-point night, 2 goals and 2 assists. Meanwhile, Connor McDavid, who had a 4-point night in game 1, although in a losing effort, was contained by the Kings and had no points in this one. Home ice has been very, very good for the LA Kings this year. They were the best home team in the NHL during the regular season. Now with these 2 postseason wins, the Kings in 43 home games in this arena have 33 victories. And now again, 2-0 lead over the Edmonton Oilers. For more on this victory for the Kings in game number 2, check out Locked On LA Kings.
And one last note on this before we move along, because we do have a lot to get to. You said it, and I was looking through the numbers. I was looking through the shot maps. The Oilers cannot get the puck to that center lane of the ice, which is where you want to be, and that's a testament to how good LA is. I mean, the 2 goals the Oilers scored last night were ugly. One was a point shot that got redirected on the way in, and the other one was Draisaitl getting cross-checked in the back, and he managed to win a leverage battle and redirect a puck on the way in. Other than that, Oilers weren't generating a lot. Sure, Hyman had a good look down around the net front, and Gavrikov, went stick on stick and stopped him from getting a release because the net was wide open. If Hyman gets a puck, gets his stick on that puck goes in, and it's a 2-1 game relatively early, and it took the Oilers for a while to get back in. That series transitions to Edmonton. That series resumes on Friday evening. If the Oilers can't manage to win Game 3, that series is almost certainly over. Even if it goes 5 or 6, it's going to be a tall order to come back from 3 games to none when your special teams have been this rough. The Oilers have taken 11 penalties in 2 games, and that's just, you can't win that way. You cannot win in today's NHL playing that way. We're going to move along now, transitioning to talking about Avs Stars, which has been tightly contested, not a lot of room, a lot of defense, pretty good goaltending. I've been impressed with what I've seen from both Blackwood and Ottinger at various points. Gabriel Landeskog plays his first game in 3 years. I don't know if you saw that graphic or not last night. The other 2 captains to miss 1,000 games were guys who were deployed during World War II and then came back after the war to play. So pretty rare company. But we both had the Avs in that series, and the Stars' recent form at the end of the regular season being the driving reason as to why. And this series, the Stars have just gotten that much luckier. It's been a coin flip the entire way.
Pete DeBoer has these guys playing their tails off every single night, man, especially defending in their own zone. Not giving much to McKinnon and Makar has been crazy to watch. Ottinger has been fantastic. They're getting contributions from everyone in their lineup, and they're buying time. That's the biggest thing, Nick. They're buying time for Robertson and Heiskanen to come back. You've won 2 of the first 3 games. Hopefully you can get at least one of them back, if not both, during this series. But I got to say, I was surprised, especially after watching Game 1 with the way the Avs won that game. I thought, oh, they're going to kind of want to run away with this. No, Game 2, the Stars pull out a really gritty win. Same thing last night. And they've barely led at all in this series. Like, we're going to play a video from the Avs guys where they joke that it's 10 seconds. It's true, Nick. The Avs have been ahead or the game has been tied for basically the entire series. And the Stars are still 2 games to 1. It's a testament to how good of a coach Pete DeBoer is and how well they're defending against McKinnon and Makar especially. It was awesome to see Landeskog come back last night. They were really watching his minutes. I think he's going to play obviously a bit more in Game 4. But Nick, they lost that game when they didn't score on the 4-minute power play. They had countless chance after countless chance. The Lehkonen one, I thought he was going to win that right there. Great play by Esa Lindell. The Stars' penalty kill was also really good during that sequence, but you had to win the game right there, especially to end regulation and in overtime. But then Marchment and Tyler Seguin, really nice combination to win the game. And Ottinger, this is what he can do in a playoff series, man. We've seen him play at this level before in the playoffs. He gets hot. He's one of the top goalies out there. So this has been a really fun series. I can't wait to see what happens next.
We're going to throw it to the Locked On Avs guys for more about the Avalanche's overtime loss to the Stars.
All right, so Gabe Landeskog returns to the ice for the first time in like 10,000 days, and the Avs go to overtime with the Dallas Stars and lose. So they are now down in the series 2-1, and they have led in this series for like 10,000 hours, and the Stars have led in this series for about 10 seconds. But that doesn't matter. They are winning in the series 2-1. So it was a tough game. It was a tough game. It was for both teams. There was a lot of tough moments to generate really anything offensively. And in the end, it was just an overtime goal that wins it for Dallas. Really nothing more to be said about that.
Yeah, it's frustrating when the Avalanche have – I mean, Dallas has led just over a minute and a half in this series, and they lead 2-1. The Landeskog reunion with the team was fantastic, but that was the last emotion that you saw in the Colorado Avalanche. Shooting was off, power play was off. They did not seem bothered by the game, and it came down to an overtime shot, a defensive lapse, and that's it. You now trail in the series to Dallas.
Power play is not awful. I don't know if there's a word for it that's worse than anything that I want to say out loud. You had a double minor, 3.5 minutes of which carried over into the overtime period. And you looked horrible. And that was the game. You had it in your hand. There were many opportunities for the Avalanche to win this game. And that was the one that was there for the taking. And they just couldn't get anything going in the offensive zone. Credit Dallas for that. But you have too much talent on this Colorado Avalanche team to not be able to set something up for 4 minutes of power play time. And that's just a little bit of a microcosm of what's going on, what happened in this game. So we're going to cover, obviously, a lot of it, all of it. Tune in to Kyle and I at Locked On Avalanche, where we're going to break this whole thing down. It is not throwing the towel, doom and gloom, but when you are down in the series, doesn't make you feel good. So let's get a win in game 4.
And real quick, before we move on and we take our first break of today's show, the big thing that's impressed me so much is the Stars' mash unit of a defense has hung in there. I mean, Harley's played the most minutes of anyone in the playoffs so far through the first 3 games of that series.
He's
been outstanding.
Things down. He's playing half the game, too.
Yeah. He's playing close to 30 minutes a game and has been nothing short of remarkable for a Stars team that's defense is piecemeal. You know, you're talking about 3 replacement level or worse defenders on the right-hand side. And we will be on Heiskanen watch come Saturday night, which is within the realm of possibility, which really opens things up and makes things interesting over there. We are going to take our first break of today's edition of Locked On NHL. When we come back, a whole lot more to get to, so be sure to stick around. The NBA and NHL playoffs are here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Because right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking my favorite team or diving into player props. If you're looking at basketball, threes, steals, rebounds, assists, or some combination, or if you're looking at hockey, goals, shots on goals, assists, points, saves, game totals, FanDuel has so many ways to bet on your favorite teams and players. Plus, after games start, you can combine line prop bets into a same game parlay for your chance to win big. Don't miss out on the playoff action. Head on over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. Thank you to everyone who is hanging out with Hunter and I on this Thursday edition of Locked On NHL as we navigate our way through the 8 playoff series. So next up on the docket, Washington, Montreal, which Montreal has definitely made Washington work. It hasn't been easy. Montreal has made it a competitive series, but you're seeing Washington's experience and frankly their depth really kind of be the differentiation point for them there. I've been very impressed with what Dylan Strome has put together for them. I've really liked what I've seen from Jacob Chychrun and the spurts I've seen of him really making some nice flash plays. But Montreal's not rolling over. Montreal has been in these games. They have had opportunities. They have made the Capitals really work for it. And I don't want to say like that's a moral victory or a nice consolation prize, but if you're the Canadiens, I think that's all you realistically expected. You know, try and win 1 or 2 games in this series, feel good about it, and you move on. Nobody really expects you to pull off this upset. If you did, amazing, great. But you're right where you're supposed to be as far as your timeline, if not a little ahead of schedule. So the Canadiens are playing with house money on several different levels.
You said it, because I was about to say that if you weren't going to say it. They are playing with house money in the playoffs here. They exceeded expectations. They got in the playoffs. And now you see they're playing loose. They're having fun. And has Washington outplayed them for most of this series, Nick? Yes, I would say in regulation periods, Washington has been better in 4 of the 6 periods. I think Montreal has outplayed them in both third periods. You saw that again on Wednesday. It was Logan Thompson save after Logan Thompson save. And these, Nick, they weren't like perimeter chance saves. These were legit high danger chances off deflections, shots from 10 to 15 feet out. And he was just stonewalling them. Like, I don't know. I even tweeted this last night. I don't know what else Montreal could have done there because they were throwing the kitchen sink at Logan Thompson and he was just making save after save. The one off the deflection where it went off his right skate was nasty. I mean, the other one, it looked like he made the save. He lunged over. Jake Evans hits the post. That one you probably would want back, of course, because he probably hits that 9 other times. But they were getting chance after chance in the third period. Montreal, yes, it is fun to make fun of them because of the way they defend. But Sam Montembeault has also been really good in this series. He's come close to matching Thompson. Well, as much as he has, like, honestly, Thompson has just been a little better because he's been one of the best goaltenders in the league this year. But Montembeault, he has kept the Canadiens in these games. You've seen at times the Canadiens have looked a bit spooked, especially to start game one. But you saw, Nick, how they were able to grow into that game. They tie it late in the third. They get to overtime. You leave Alex Ovechkin wide open for the net. Bad things are going to happen. Last night, you take the lead. You had a bad bounce go your way. Cole Caulfield, I think there probably should have been a penalty there at the end of the third period, but that's also just me. But even though they're down 2-0, this series still isn't over. Like, do I expect the Capitals to probably win this series? Yes, but the Bell Center is going to be rocking for games 3 and 4. They played Washington as tough as they probably could have so far. They had a lot of chances to win game 1, especially at the end of regulation. Mike Matheson hits a post there. That puck's just a little bit more inside. Montreal wins that game, and this is a 1-1 series heading back to Montreal. But the Capitals, you see their playoff experience there. Alex Ovechkin's been playing really well. Dylan Strome, Chychrun. I like John Carlson's game as well. They're showing why they were the top team in the East. But don't get it twisted. Montreal is making them work for it in every game so far.
All right, so we're going to switch things up and head on over to the Battle of Florida, and we're going to try and squeeze in Ontario in this segment as well. But game 1 and the longest wait time to start this series, Florida turned on the afterburners, and that game got out of hand so fast. And it was really jarring to see Tampa Bay look that out of sorts that quickly, because that's such a veteran-laden and frankly just good team. You know, it's hard. I struggle to think of another time Vasilevsky let up 4 goals in a period in a playoff game. It's really hard to think about that. You think about how long it's been since Matthew Tkachuk played in a hockey game and how good he looked in the spurts he did play. That series is going to be a series of swings. I think it'll be very back and forth. I would not be surprised if Tampa Bay had a game like that where they won big as well, just by the nature of the styles of those two teams. But man, that was really jarring to see. And as much as we were concerned about maybe Florida being a little burnt out from going to 2 straight cup finals, they had plenty of energy for game 1.
100%. And I think they kind of tried to send a message, Nick, saying like, hey, don't count us out yet, because we can still do this when we're fully healthy. Tkachuk comes back. Looks like he never missed a beat. He was, I think, the best player on the ice for the Panthers, in my opinion. Sam Bennett, he also got a really nice goal to kick things off. That was a great deflection, Nick, like right around the net front. That was awesome. Jake Gensel for Tampa, he continues to show that he is one of the best playoff performers of this generation. Every time he plays in a big game, he scores. You saw that there for Tampa Bay. They're going to keep needing him if they want to get right back in this. And this series, we all know it. It's far from over. There's going to be swings. Honestly, I would not be surprised, Nick, if Tampa Bay does this right back to Tampa in game 2, because of the response that John Cooper's teams usually have in the playoffs. This was also a really off night for Vasilevsky. He's been arguably the best goaltender on the planet this year. Seeing him look really human in that game was very odd. I would expect him to have a much better game in game 2, especially at home. But Florida's big dog showed up, especially in this one. Now it's time to see what Tampa Bay's big dogs would do. Obviously, you saw Jake, but Nick, let's see what Braden Point can do. He's also a great playoff performer. Let's see what Kucherov can do, Brandon Hagel, et cetera, et cetera. I think we're going to learn a lot about Tampa Bay in game 2 here.
That game will get nasty. There will be at least
one. The series is going to get nasty. You saw those teams already pushing and shoving each other. Matthew Tkachuk is giving it to the Tampa fans. These two teams are going to beat the hell out of each other for the next, hopefully, 6 games.
Pivoting, speaking of beating the crap out of each other, we were texting during Leaf Sens the other day, and
Ottawa looked spooked, man. They look a bit spooked in this series.
They haven't been here before, and it shows, because this is what teams do when they're out of their depth and they get frustrated. They resort to the shenanigans to try and even the game out, to try and, hey, you might be winning, but we're here. We're not going to get pushed around, and it's great you're not going to get pushed around, but, you know, scoreboard. Ultimately, scoreboard is what matters in professional sports, and you could say whatever you want about the leadership style. I'll be very interested to see if Ottawa can make this interesting. I know they went to overtime and they were able to limp their way through. They really couldn't get anything going offensively. They scored on the one shot on goal they were able to get in that third period. But Toronto has done the job. The goaltending has been pretty good. Marner had the nice breakaway in game one to score there. It just feels like you're kind of waiting for Toronto to explode versus, and Ottawa's been
the
on
special
their
teams has also been a big swing in Toronto's favor, man. Ottawa, the Sens got to stop taking penalties at this rate. The Leafs are just saying, thank you very much. Nick, they're scoring, it feels like, in milliseconds every time they get a power play. They have to stay disciplined if they want to make this a series.
It's crucial. I mean, we said the same thing about the Oilers. You're not going to win taking 4 or 5 penalties a game. In this environment, you are not going to be able to kill off that many penalties. In the regular season, you get away with that every now and then in the long run. In a short series against a playoff caliber team, which by definition is going to have a better baseline level of talent than half of the league that you see in the regular season, you are going to get burned over and over again. And I know Toronto's power play has gone through ebbs and flows throughout the course of the season, but that's one of the best units on paper in the NHL. And if you give them chances, they are going to mess you up. And that's been the case so far.
100%. And Linus Ullmark needs to play better for the Senators.
He needs to have one. He needs to have one really good game for them because it would go a long way for momentum just to calm everyone down and give the guys in front of him a little bit of room.
I said heading into this series that Ottawa would have the goalie edge by a smidge because I've seen the way Linus Ullmark has played, especially these last couple of seasons. But in the playoffs, he needs to be better. Like, that's been the big thing throughout his career. Again, I wanted to see him beat those playoff demons. And the reason why I said they had the goalie edge was because of the way he has played, especially in the regular season these last 2-3 years. Hasn't translated to the playoffs, and you're seeing why. He needs to have a big one here at home for the Sens to get back. And we can make jokes about this all we want. You're seeing why the Leafs playoff experience, even though they lost all those series, Nick, for a while, but it's paying dividends here because they're pushing the Senators around. They're doing what they want. Craig Berube is badly outcoaching the Senators in this game. They are defending their tails off in their own zone. They're making Brady Tkachuk really upset, Tim Stützle really upset. And you're seeing why having a coach like that is so crucial to playoff success. And again, that playoff experience, even though I know, Nick, we can make all the memes, we can joke all we want and all that, but it's paying off right now because the Leafs are just crushing the Senators.
We are going to take our second and final break of today's show. When we come back, we will tackle the rest of the playoff series. So be sure to stick around to this edition of Locked On NHL. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in as your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on takeout. Now, I meal prep, I budget, and I save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even set up long-term financial goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year subscription. One more time, that's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year subscription. Thank you to everyone that is hanging out with Hunter and I on this Thursday edition of Locked On NHL. And speaking of the games that we have the 4 tonight. We've been all oscillating between 3 and 4 games per night. One of the later games tonight, Vegas and Minnesota. Was very impressed with Minnesota's flash players. I thought Kaprizov and Boldy has been their best player through these first 2 games. Kaprizov is looking the part, and Vegas got punched in the mouth. There's just no other way to say it. In that second game, Minnesota just went boom, 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 and Vegas couldn't get their feet under them. And it was crazy. Again, very similar to what we were saying before about the Florida-Tampa Bay series, where it was just very jarring to see Vegas look that out of sorts because Vegas is a great defensive team. I would argue their defense is what makes them such a dangerous and such a quality playoff team. And Minnesota kind of picked them apart. And Aiden Hill, not the easiest of saves, but you probably should have had 1 or 2 of those and you had a chance. But man, it was crazy to see that happen. And I was very impressed. Minnesota looked the part. And I don't think you can probably rely on flash plays like that, those transition, those odd man rushes to happen that often. But if you're going to hang around in a series, you need your best players to play like it. And Minnesota's best players did that in game 2.
Eriksson as well. He was also tremendous in that game for Minnesota. Gustafsson made a lot of really big saves, especially when Vegas was trying to mount that comeback in the third period. But who I want to see more out of for Vegas, Nick? Jack Eichel.
Yeah.
He's been a bit quiet so far. You're seeing him get a bit frustrated.
Shots on goal in game 2.
Bench. What'd you say?
No shots on goal in game 2 for Jack Eichel.
Like he's slamming the bench. He's slamming his stick down. I want to see him answer the call here. Like he's playing well defensively, but he's not getting the offense. I want to see how he responds. And I can say that for the entire Golden Knights team now. You were just punched in the mouth. How do you respond after that coming into the series as such a big favorite? Because Minnesota just stole home ice from you. It's 1-1 going back to Minnesota. It's going to be rowdy there. We all know it. How do the Golden Knights respond? They've been doing really well in this regard all season under Bruce Cassidy. Can they do it again here? That's my big thing. I also want to see a little bit more out of Mark Stone. So I just think some more of their high-end guys, Nick, I want to see them get a bit more comfortable in this series for me. But for Minnesota, I mean, Boldy was outstanding. Kaprizov was toying with them. Eriksson was toying with them. When their best players have a game like that, there's really nothing else Vegas can do. And you saw that on display. So really curious to see what happens now that this series shifts to Minnesota.
And that's going to happen from time to time. That's what makes great players is sometimes they're just going to swing a game by themselves and there's nothing you can do. You just got to regroup and be able to put that behind you and go back out there for the next one. Speaking of great players and putting things together, Connor Hellebuyck has been pretty good. I wouldn't say he was great in game 1.
He's answering the call. He's doing it.
And that's really the key because it is really hard. And this is, Ranger fan Nick speaking. It's really hard to win when your best player is your goalie because your goalie can't score goals as well. The Jets are entirely designed around winning these low-scoring, tight-checking games at 5-on-5, and then their power play kind of putting them over the top. St. Louis has just enough juice that this is dicey, but you feel pretty good about Winnipeg through these first 2 games.
Yes. Kyle Connor has been sensational in these 2 games. Mark Scheifele has also been sensational. The reason why the Jets are up 2-0 are because of those 2 players. Yes, Hellebuyck has also been great. He's answering the call. But if you look outside of that, Winnipeg's best players have been their best players. St. Louis, they're doing everything they can in this series. It's not like, Nick, they're playing bad or anything. I would say in the game 1, they played 40 strong minutes. Yeah. Winnipeg really took it to them in the third period. They suffocated them to death. They clogged everything up in the neutral zone. Game 2 was really close. But again, Winnipeg is so stingy defensively. They don't give you anything. It reminds me a lot of the way the Kings play, especially at home. And the Blues, they're having to really work to create their offense. But another thing about this series was, especially in game 1, the Jets were punched in the mouth multiple times. I wanted to see how they would respond to it. And they did in very convincing fashion. They haven't been able to do that these last couple of years. So far, it's a bit different. And now the series shifts to the St. Louis. I would expect Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele to continue to be great. They're hopefully going to be getting back Velarde soon, Nick. It looks like that's getting closer. So I'll have to see what happens with Ehlers. But Scheifele and Connor, man, have been awesome. Morrissey has also continued to play really good. And they're really getting around St. Louis's very singy play style in their own zone. Montgomery, he's doing everything he can. But when you go up against a team that is A, this stingy defensively, and B, can still score, especially with how good Scheifele and Connor are right now, you can only do so much. So those are my main thoughts on the Winnipeg series. I think we only have the Carolina, New Jersey one left here, and I'm not really surprised by this result. Carolina has been the better team all season. I will say I do feel bad for the Devils because they played a really good game too. Freddie Anderson, my friend, just stood on his head. He had a 3.72 goal save above expected in that game for game 2. It was insane. He was making 10 bell save after 10 bell save. The Devils threw again, like the Habs did the Caps. They threw the kitchen sink at the Hurricanes. didn't get the job done, and now they face a really daunting hole, especially without A, Jack Hughes, and B, now Luke Hughes and Brendan Dillon. Like, Nick, the biggest thing is they're just too banged up right now. They don't have the horses.
No. They don't have the horses. The Devils, and Markstrom has been good for them.
He's been awesome.
Jacob Markstrom has given them chances to hang around in these games, but the Devils just don't have the guys.
Yeah.
When you're down, 3 of your 6 defensemen, your best center, the Devils have a talented forward group. It's one of the better forward groups in the NHL, but that's largely predicated on Jack Hughes carrying his own line at 5-on-5 and being able to distribute your talent a little more evenly throughout. I think the Devils probably can win 1 game, maybe 2 in this series, but the thing that is crazy to watch in real time is you see Carolina play like this against the Devils, where they just look like a buzzsaw, where they're going to constantly get the puck in deep. They're going to cycle you into oblivion. They're going to fire a million shots at your goalie. They're going to crash the net. Jordan Martinook looks like he's having one of his I'm really good at hockey runs for some reason. A couple of years ago, he had 13 points in 15 games in the playoffs, which as a fourth liner is kind of insane, but every now and then he just goes a little crazy. And Carolina, by and large, is getting the job done. And the looming setting up a Carolina-Washington second-round series, a rematch from the old Southeastern Conference between 2 teams that just have consistently underperformed once they've gotten past the first round of the playoffs over the last 10 years. And I'll be very careful. We got to get there first. But both teams up 2-0. It definitely crossed my mind in the last day and a half. I just want to see some competitiveness the last thing I want to say before we get out of here. If you're one of these teams that's down 2-0 right now, if you're the Oilers, if you're the Devils, if you're Montreal, you're going back to your rink. You have an opportunity to reset. Take that advantage, because 2-1 and 3-0 are massively different. And 2-1, it's still a series. 3-0, you're starting to think about tea times and Antigua and Bermuda. So you have plenty of time, but we could be having a very different conversation about a lot of these teams by next Thursday.
They have last change. They have the fans behind them. It can be a different series. So watch those 2 elements, of course, but you're right. The reset is huge, but again, you have the last change. You have your fans behind you. You're playing in your home rink. It can change, pretty quickly. So let's see what happens, man. But I just don't have good vibes right now with the Devils. I felt like they gave it their best shot in game 2. I'm not sure they're going to play that well again. Even though they're going to be at home these next 2 games, I'm just not sure they're going to play that well. I mean, Freddie Anderson was also tremendous, by the way, but still, curious to see how a lot of these series look by next week when we meet up here again.
That'll do it for today's edition of Locked On NHL. If you could be so kind, please subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts or over on YouTube. Be sure to check out Locked On NHL Game Nights, which go live after games, after playoff nights at the end of the day. Everyone enjoy the Stanley Cup playoffs. We will see you guys next week.